In the 13th century, while most Turkish Muslims worshipped in iconic mosques, an entirely new display of praise began to gather a following. Known as the Sema ritual, it was the vision of Sufi master Rumi. The purpose, to honor Allah and chronicle the spiritual path man must take on the journey to enlightenment. Semasens from the Mevlevi order of whirling dervishes are the only ones allowed to perform the ceremony. It's captivating for us, but meant for the heavens. A powerful display performed in a trance-like state.
While we learn, we say Allah. It's the name of the God. We don't think anything about our family, our work, other people, just Allah.
With unwavering focus, the Semasen complete as many as 2,000 turns during the Sema ritual. Every spin, every body position is a deliberate, intentional gesture meant to honor God and embrace His benevolence.
Right hand looks to sky, and the other looks to around. This symbolize that comes from the God. We should share with people.
The Sufi Mevlevi order was outlawed in 1925 and is still technically illegal. But the right to perform the Sema ritual was reinstated in 1954. Turkey's whirling dervishes ritual is such a rare treasure that it is one of UNESCO's masterpieces of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. We look forward to sharing Istanbul's many hidden treasures with you.
Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. Allahu Ekber. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح.
Istanbul, straddling Europe and Asia across the Bosphorus Straits, is a city of contrasts, east and west, traditional and modern, religious and secular. It is also where a Jewish community has lived, largely with respect and peacefully, for over 5 centuries. With its many mosques and tall minarets, the city's Muslim identity is unmistakable. Jews, only a tiny fraction of Turkey's population, have made their own mark in the city. Jewish life is centered in the Bayoglu district, near the iconic Galata Tower. The synagogues of Istanbul are central to its Jewish life. At its high point, the end of the Ottoman era, there were dozens of synagogues in Istanbul, along with schools and notable sages. Today, there are only 16 that are active, some reflecting the immigration waves that arrived before and after the expulsion from Spain in the 15th century. The most well-known is the Neve Shalom, the central synagogue for community events. It was also the site of 2 terrorist attacks, one in 1986 leaving 22 worshippers dead, the second in 2003. The Arida synagogue has the iconic bima, resembling the boats that brought the Spanish Jews to the Ottoman Empire. Many of the synagogues have been restored, a meticulous process requiring precise craftsmanship. One has been turned into the Jewish Museum of Turkey. During the summer, Istanbul's Jews moved to Buyukada Island, an hour by ferry, in the Bosphorus Straits. No cars or motor vehicles are on the serene island. There is a 100-year-old synagogue open year-round. Jews had an important role to play in the growth of the Ottoman Empire as merchants and traders. Here in the Grand Bazaar, there were once many Jewish-owned stores and artisans. Today, only a few remain. Food plays an important part in Jewish life. The local markets are teeming with fresh fish, vegetables, spices, and nuts. The narrow streets are bustling with cafes, vendors, and filled with aromatic flavors. Many of the Sephardic dishes have found their way into the menus of some of the best-known restaurants. Though the Jewish community is dwindling in Istanbul, its warmth and spirit resonate from its members. They connect the Jews of Istanbul to other communities and are an important link to a great Sephardic heritage.
Forced conversion, expulsion. Being Jewish in Christian Europe in the Middle Ages was terrifying. In the face of this brutality, tens of thousands of Jews fled Europe in the 14th and 15th centuries and found a new home that offered safety and opportunity: the Ottoman Empire. But over the next few centuries, as European empires spread across the world and Ottoman power crumbled, the Jewish safe haven began to collapse with deadly consequences. In the 7th century, Islamic armies began conquering lands across the Middle East, North Africa, and Southern Europe. As the Caliphate spread, Muslim leaders faced questions on what to do with non-Muslims who would not submit to conversion living within their new borders. They eventually settled on the Pact of Umar, which declared Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians dhimmis, or people of the pact. This status allowed Jews significant autonomy and protection, but demanded a special tax called the jizya and established rules that made Jews and other dhimmis second-class citizens. In times of economic prosperity, these rules were often relaxed or ignored, but they ensured Jews remained second-class citizens throughout the Muslim world. Despite the challenges of the dhimmi status, such restrictions were preferable to the massacres and forced conversions that Jews faced in Europe. Ashkenazi Jews found safety with the Ottomans after mass expulsions from Hungary and France in the 14th century, followed by a wave of Sephardic Jews from Spain and Portugal fleeing the Inquisition in the 15th century. Jewish European immigrants intermingled with the Romanian Jews of the former Byzantine Empire and Mizrahi Jews of the Middle East and North Africa, who were already living under Ottoman control. The Sultan scoffed at the Spanish for expelling the community, saying the king has impoverished his own country and enriched mine. They brought useful skills, often acting as translators and diplomats. Ottoman Jews built vast international trade networks, some even growing rich as they capitalized on trade through the Silk Road. Jews also brought skills with medicine and finance, becoming bankers, doctors, and political advisors. One Italian Jew even became the personal physician of the Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror. While many Jews worked closely with Muslims, others formed semi-independent communities. After the Ottomans conquered Palestine in 1516 by defeating the Egyptian Mamluk Sultanate, brilliant Kabbalist mystics like Rabbi Isaac Luria and Rabbi Haim Vital made their home in the sacred city of Safed, as did Rabbi Joseph Caro, the visionary author of the Shulchan Aruch. Meanwhile, an influx of Sephardic immigration to the city of Salonika in Ottoman-ruled Greece transformed it into the only city in the world with a Jewish majority at the time. In fact, by the mid-16th century, nearly half of all Jews lived in the Ottoman Empire. Jews and Muslims in the Ottoman Empire thrived together during the 15th and 16th centuries, but the relatively good times couldn't last. Starting in 1699, Austrian and Russian conquest chipped away at Ottoman control, while the colonial empires of Western Europe opened new shipping lanes with America and East Asia that threatened the primacy of the Silk Road. These changes plunged many Jewish communities into poverty, erasing much of the wealth they had built in more prosperous years. Meanwhile, as Ottoman Jews found their home and livelihood under siege, Jews in Europe thrived. Wealth and medical advancements enabled the Jewish population of Europe to nearly triple from 1800 to 1880, while the Ottoman Jewish population stagnated. As their empire began to crumble, the Muslim masses turned against non-Muslims, and local leaders stoked resentment to distract from their own failings. In 1840, in Damascus, a Christian monk and his Muslim servant went missing. Although still technically part of the Ottoman Empire, Damascus was temporarily under Egyptian control. The corrupt, anti-Semitic French consul in Damascus blamed the Jews, spreading the Christian concept of blood libel. He arrested an innocent Jewish barber and handed him over to the Egyptian governor for torture. The governor also arrested 7 of the richest Jews in the city and tortured them so brutally that 2 died. The complete absence of evidence caused an uproar in the United States and across Europe, except France. Egyptian leadership eventually caved and released the surviving prisoners just before the Ottomans reconquered Syria. The Sultan tried to calm tensions by declaring that blood libel was pure slander. He went even further in 1856 when he abolished the dhimmi status and declared Jews equal subjects under the law. Despite this progress, however, Jews throughout the empire continued to suffer poverty and violence. The anger displayed towards Jews in Damascus spilled into other cities, including Istanbul, Jerusalem, and Rhodes. One Jew in Beirut said, "We can hardly leave our homes. Everybody, great and small alike, attacks us and forces their way into our houses." The Ottomans also struggled to maintain control of their empire, which led to a power vacuum that encouraged violence. Meanwhile, French influence encouraged European anti-Semitic conspiracies. A dozen massacres in Ottoman or formerly Ottoman lands killed hundreds of Jews. While smaller than the pogroms roiling Eastern Europe, this violence made it clear that the safe haven of the Ottoman Empire was no longer so safe. The situation deteriorated so much that in 1891, in reaction to a new wave of Jewish immigrants fleeing to what was known as the region of Palestine, the land of Israel, the Ottomans took an unprecedented step, banning Jewish migration to Ottoman lands. This ban failed to stem the tide of migration, but the message was clear. The land that saved so many Jews had closed its doors. Within a couple of decades, the Ottoman Empire collapsed completely. Over the first half of the 20th century, its Jewish population fled to Israel, America, and France, looking to find safety and prosperity.
haber getir pirimden.
Mübilecek meydana, mükürüzün zindana. Ya Muhammed ya manayı marifet sırrı hakikat. Geldi hizmet-i Muhammed, kükürter ey canlar. Ya Allah, ya Muhammed ya Bismillah, Allah Allah. Ya Allah, ya Muhammed ya
Peygamberliğin nur aşkına ya Muhammed, ya Muhammed, ya Muhammed. Velayetin nur aşkına ya Ali, ya Ali, ya Ali.
Biz de Mevla'nın kuluyuz, 72 dil bizdedir. Erlik midir eri yormak, bırak yoldan haber sormak. Cennette 18 ırmak, coşkun akan sel bizdedir. Adam vardır gizli semiz, ne sanır olmaz temiz. Halkıdan eylemek nemin, bir cümle vebal bizdedir. Arı vardır uçup gezer, teni tenden seçip gezer. O can bizden kaçıp gezer, arı biz, bal bizdedir. Kimi sofu, kimi hacı, kimi sofu, kimi hacı, cümlemiz hakka duacı. Resul-ü Ekrem'in tacı, Abahır Kaşal bizdedir. Biz erenler gerçeğiyiz, has bahçenin çiçeğiyiz. Hacı Bektaş kökeğiyiz, ebe verkan yol bizdedir. Kuldur Hasan dedem kuldur, manayı söyleyen dildir.
Benim adım Andon Parizyanos, emekli öğretmenim. İstanbul'daki Rum cemaatinin bir üyesiyim. Balat'ta doğdum 1948 yılında. Bugün size bu Fener Balat yöresini gezdirmeye çalışacağız. İnşallah beğenirsiniz. Buyurun beni takip edin. Rum cemaati deyince İstanbul'da doğup büyüyen Türk uyruklu, Türk vatandaşı, Türkiye Cumhuriyeti vatandaşı, Rum asıllı Ortodoks mezhebine bağlı kişilerdir. Burada konuştuğumuz dil Yunancadır. Fakat İstanbul'a özgü bir lehçe farkı, bir şive farkı vardır. üniversitede okuyucuyum. Muganni dediğimiz ilahi okuyan koro başıyım. Ama mugannilik benim mesleğim. 50 yıldan fazla muganniyim. Ve İstanbul'da şu anda en büyük sorunumuz muganni yokluğu, azlığı. Muganni bizim ibadette, Hristiyan en zor görev. Çünkü müzik bilmesi lazım, nota, makam. Bütün Türk makamları aynı bizimki gibi. Eskiden bizim muganniler ezan sesini okuyup onlar da kendi bilgisine göre oturup notaları diziyorlardı ve böyle biraz makam alıyorlardı. Yani bizim eskiden mugannilerimiz o kadar güzel okuyordu ki işte yani o camideki müezzinlerle ahbap oluyorlardı ve makam konusunda biraz işbirliği yapıyorlardı. Fener bir Rum köyüydü. Buradaki evlerin, gördüğümüz evlerin çoğu, özellikle balkonlu olanlar Rum eviydi. Bunu nasıl anlıyoruz? Bir kere mimari bakımdan Rum evleri balkonlu, sütunlu, böyle biraz dış görünüşe önem verilen. Eskiden kırmızı okula sabah derse geldiğimiz zaman önce buraya bir mum yakardık ki derse kaldırmasınlar bizi. Fener Rum Erkek Lisesi'ndeyiz. Bu eskiden Patrikhane'ye bağlı çok önemli bir okuldu, bir liseydi. Hatta mezun olanlar öğretmen bile olabiliyordu. E, 1960-61 eğitim yılında orta 1'e başladım ve ortaokulu burada bitirdim. Bu oturduğumuz sınıfta orta 3 sınıfıydı o zaman ve tabii ki sınıfta 50-60 öğrenci vardı. Bugün görüyorsunuz sıralar bile çok az. İstanbul'da bizim böyle çok gerçek bir sayımız yok. Ama çok kabaca 2500 civarında kişi çıkartıyoruz. Şu anda Balat Karapapak sokaktayız. Doğduğum evin önündeyiz. Burada bu evde çok anılarımız var. Benim hüzünlü bir anı. 1955 yılında 6-7 Eylül olaylarında büyükannem burada oturuyordu. Babamla olaylardan sonra buraya geldiğimizde gözlerimize inanamadık. Ev 4 duvar kalmıştı. Her taraf yıkılıp yani çok zarar verilmişti. Ama tekrar büyükannem ısrar etti. Yavaş yavaş evi toparladılar, tekrar tamir ettiler. Böylece bugüne kadar bir şekilde geldi. Anneanneye göre vaftizel dediğim kilise burası. Bir de çok enteresan bir yer var. Her sene 6 Eylül'de gelip buradan dilek dileyip bir dilek diliyorsun. Karşı tarafa oradan delikten geçiyorsun. Evet ve artık dileğin yerine gelir mi gelmez mi ama inanç böyle. İnandığımız konu bu. Yunancası zulopetra yani basılmış taş demek. Babam derdi ki gitmeyin, burada kalın. İşte burada bizim ecdadımızın kemikleri var. Bu kadar Okul, kilise ne olacak, kim bakacak? Gitmeyin derdi bana. Çocuklarıma söylemedim, söylemedim. Gidin de demedim, gitmeyin de demedim. Dedim siz artık dedim üniversiteyi bitirdiniz, kendiniz karar verin. Ne yapacaksınız? Benim çocuklarım da gitmedi. Böyle biraz da tesadüf diyelim. İş buldular, burada kaldılar. Hayatlarını kurdular.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning in southeastern Turkey. Mar Gabriel is one of the oldest Christian monasteries in the world. At first glance, I seem to be the only person here, but I can hear noises coming from inside the monastery's church. They hold Mass here every Sunday. I've come here to meet Petros. He's one of 3 young people my fellow reporters and I will talk to during this show. 3 young Christians who want to devote their lives to their faith, but are not allowed to. The people here are Syriani, a tiny Orthodox Christian minority living in Muslim Turkey.
تودي طاونا ما جابوا طاو يعني ما جابوا سحزينو يعني عند مثلا ديما أتسافروا ديما تحشابوا سنن قروبو على هايو يعني راحة وين باسيموا هم الأرول عند ثلاثة فرع تقولين عليه تودي ثلاثا مو جابانو حزينو يعني تهوي مكونو ثستيد مفتح فرع عليه تعليه تودي ثلاثا مثلا عليه ثيولوجيا تقدرنا مدنو درغو يام ملفونوثو دبرونوثو كهنوثو هذا هو يعني.
Because I'm a woman, I have to stand at the back of the church, together with the nuns. I feel like I've traveled back in time. The Syriani say their rituals date back to the times of Jesus himself. They even speak Aramaic, the same language Jesus spoke. Despite their rich history, the Syriani don't enjoy the same rights as Turkey's Muslim majority. They even face oppression by the Turkish government. After the 3-hour mass, I'm honored when the bishop, the Syriani spiritual leader, invites me. For 6 years, Petros lived here as a child monk. From an early age, he learned a life of discipline and rules. Petros shows me the classroom where he spent every Saturday studying Aramaic until he was 15. During the week, the boys here go to regular Turkish schools.
قريلي بمثل ذوي بسفرو تركيو كتويلي حوروني غالبي طالي وخلينا شوكينا عم سوي بسفرو يعني باسيمينا عم حسوزي حالو مروحات قيطايو وهي الأمر اللي قيم شي حيات أو وقت حوروني عايشي بين عم سوي.
Just 100 years ago, most of the people in this region were Syriani Christians. I wonder how the people here today deal with this Christian heritage.
Ben buradan sonra Müslümanlar fethedilmiş burayı. Yani ne kadar birbirimiz olsa hani Kürt, Türk olsa daha iyi bizim için.
Yani şu anda bu topraklarda yaşayan Hristiyan vatandaş yok. Şu anda hiç kimse yok.
Yani civar.
Hayır, hiç kimse şu anda yok.
Tek dilin egemen olduğu, Türkçenin dışında başka hiçbir dile, Sünniliğin dışında başka hiçbir inancın kabul görmediği bir anlayış var yani.
I go to visit Petros and his family at their home in a small Christian village. The family lives off the land, selling some of their crops to make a little money. When I come, they've all put on their best clothing for my visit. Petros' parents are proud that their family has managed to stay here.
لا بعنا امشي حوزة تيمو متكو ثاني وعاد كتيو مركز ديمشي هوي ثواركي ما خلا بعنا مرفينا أواثرو كتلنا عامو غلبة تامو أما أمي فاشركي لوك بعنا مرفينا عليه.
20-year-old Petros and his 8 siblings all live together with their family in this farmhouse.
هي دو بابي هو قاملي أما أنا اللي متفكرنا دو جورو كوبعنا بدنا مدى جارانتي بحياتي وبصر أنا شوياز نودر بحياتيون الروحي يعني دو جورو ليتو البولي يعني عدد هاي فرصة قروي كوبعنا جورو لو يعني.
For now, Petros works on the farm. It's unclear what the future holds for him. He wants to study Christian theology, but the universities in Turkey don't offer it. He also wants to escape poverty. That either means marrying a girl from another country or going to live in a monastery. The deputy mayor there is a Syriani like Petros. Petros hopes she can give him some advice, since he wants a future here in Turkey. In the last century, millions of Syriani have been forced to leave their homes. There are only 24,000 left in Turkey. 250,000 Syriani fled to Europe, over 400,000 to the US. We pass by a refugee camp. Thousands of people have come here from nearby Syria to escape the terrorist group Islamic State. We finally arrive in the Turkish city Mardin. Petros is nervous about our meeting. He wants to ask the deputy mayor why it isn't possible for him to study Christian theology at a university here in Turkey. Even though the country's constitution guarantees freedom of religion, the reality is quite different.
كلوزم شايلينا لميدانو وميدانو لم شايلينا أعلى نو شايلك بيلانيو كلوزم احنا يعلى يموسو ليلو نويف يعلى يموسو هي وأحاول أن كتنا خوثي تروثن في الحين عم حدود إلى جنوب ميدانو كي بيدوبيو.
Petros is surprised by her response.
هي بشور أنا لا تولي طيبو ميدانو وعدد ملا هو خاصة فصحنا وغلبي وإنا قد عم حورنا هويلا جودو دمجاربينا سيمينا وهويلا مملو عم حزازي متيقن وقطرين احنا سير شغلنا عم حزازي.
تودي لي ما سيأخذ شيء أو بعمل.
تودي غلبي.
I hope someday I'll get to come back here. I'm curious to see if Petros can improve his situation and live his dream.
For more than 1,000 years, the Armenian Cathedral of the Holy Cross on Akdamar Island in eastern Turkey has been a holy site for Orthodox Christians. And today, it's once again opening its doors to the faithful.
I feel happy most of all because our people are gathering here from all around the world.
Armenian Orthodox Christians haven't been able to worship here since 2015. That was when the government canceled the event due to what it said was an increase in activity. But now, Armenian Christians are able to return to the island for annual services. It's a tradition that started 8 years ago.
They believe this site was built to house a piece of the cross that Jesus died on. But the importance of this service is not just religious. Many say it's a sign of increased religious tolerance from the government.
Turkey is changing. It's not the old Turkey anymore. We have a government which allows minority rights, and that makes us happy.
The Mass is an emotional experience for Armenian pilgrims. They've come together from all over the world to worship at this ancient site.
This shows brotherhood, and this is very nice. We have Mass here.
But the site has another significance. In 2015, UNESCO added the cathedral to its list of tentative World Heritage Sites. It's considered one of the finest remaining examples of medieval Armenian architecture. And now, it's also a museum. Tourism officials say 5.5 million people have visited Akdamar in the last 8 years. After a major renovation that brought the cathedral back to life, visitors say they hope this medieval monument can be enjoyed by pilgrims and tourists for another 1,000 years.
is new again. This Bulgarian St. Stephen Church was built in 1898 and is currently the last remaining iron church in the world. It was built on Istanbul's Golden Horn using 500 tons of iron shipped from Austria. It has a special place in Nicole Shupka's heart.
I think the special part is for me, my mother's and father's married in this church, and my grandmother's also. So this is special for me.
The church was closed for 7 years as it had fallen into a state of disrepair due to rust and corrosion. The restoration was co-financed by Turkey and Bulgaria as part of an agreement. Turkey paid $4 million, while Bulgaria contributed $250,000. And for its part, Bulgaria is restoring a 600-year-old mosque in Plovdiv. Istanbul's small Bulgarian Orthodox community says it's proud this iconic neo-Gothic building has been restored to its original luster. They expect it to draw at least 3,000 visitors a month.
Good